Every next era begins with a moment of honesty, and maybe this is yours. Welcome to the next era. I'm Faizah Baldonado, life design strategist, growth mentor, and this is where we slow things down enough to think clearly about who you are now, what season you're in, and what actually fits. If you're ready to build from clarity instead of pressure, you're in the right place. Last episode, I talked about connecting the dots. And today I want to go further back because long before the next era, long before coaching, there was a version of me who genuinely did not know what she was doing. I was living in a small share house in one room with my dog. That was it. Sometimes I could barely afford my weekly rent. And on paper, I had a really good job. I was capable. I was working hard, but my lifestyle didn't reflect someone who was building something successful. I was partying a lot. I was drinking more than I should have. I was not sleeping properly and working hard during the week and then undoing it all on the weekends, sometimes on the weeknights. I had just come out of a long-term relationship that left me emotionally and financially shaken and drained. And I had pride, a lot of pride and a lot of shame underneath that. I could have gone home. I could have moved back with my parents and regrouped. But in my mind, that would mean that I had completely failed because I had made this big move and I wasn't about to return without something that looked like some form of success, like I did something. So I stayed. I pushed through and I told myself that I was fine until one morning I woke up and I literally could not physically move. I was awake, I was fully conscious, but my body just wouldn't respond. And I remember thinking very clearly, am I dying? It wasn't drugs, it wasn't something dramatic that I did the night before. It was exhaustion. It was stress. It was lifestyle. It was pressure. Everything catching up. And my body suffered. My health had clearly been suffering. And I called my mom immediately. She didn't hesitate. She booked a flight and she flew down to me that day. And she stayed with me, took me to specialist appointments. I could barely walk, sat through the tests, made sure that I was okay until I was stable enough to just manage on my own again. And I was scared. I was really scared about my health. But if I'm being honest, I was really wild with worry about work as well, about money, about how long I'd be out like this for, about what it would cost me to not be able to function or literally move. Even lying there unable to move properly, my mind was still outside of myself. Who's managing things? What are they thinking? How long can I afford this? I mean, my boss and my team were incredibly supportive, but I went back earlier than I should have because I didn't feel like I could afford not to. That was really hard to admit. Even when my body had forced a stop, I was still negotiating with it. Still measuring my value by how useful I was. And the truth, well, the world just kept going, kept moving. Work continued, things were handled, and that opened up something in me. It shook me because I realized how tightly I had wrapped my identity around being needed, but my body had drawn a line. And I had never, ever thought to draw one for myself until then. And once I stabilized physically, something else started to surface. I began questioning my environment, the people I was around, the lifestyle I was living, the pace, and I actually felt really bad even thinking that because no one was bad. These were the people who held me after my breakup. There was comfort there. There was lots of laughs. There was lots of being silly. There was relief in letting my hair down and just honestly not having to think too much or worry for a second. And that season held me in some ways, but it also kept me in a loop. There was no forward thinking, no real planning, and it was just work hard, go out, recover, and repeat over and over again. And I had to ask myself something really uncomfortable. Was I even happy? Or was I just distracting myself? Because when I went home at night, the only real grounding I had was my dog. He was the only constant, the only thing waiting for me. And I took him everywhere I could. And I remember sitting on my bed or on the floor sometimes, just bawling my eyes out, crying into his fur. He was the only place that I felt completely safe and still. And that says a lot when I look back. I had people around me, I had noise, but I didn't have direction, and I definitely didn't have a plan for my life. And not long after that, I remember standing outside one afternoon, beautiful sky, traffic moving, lots and lots of noise, just life happening around me, and I felt this deep sense of, I just cannot keep living like this. You know, my voice was quiet, but inside it was just the feeling, it felt like despair and just loss. It was so loud because I didn't know what was wrong, really. I didn't know. I didn't have enough information. I didn't know what to change. I just knew that I couldn't keep drifting like this. And I remember looking up to the sky and saying out loud, I don't know what to do. So please, can you just show me something? And shortly after that, while I was at work, I got this random cold call. And on the line, someone said, a friend referred me to you, and we're inviting you to a personal development event. And normally, I honestly would have brushed that off. One, I don't know who this person is. I did not expect it. But I also trusted my friend, so I figured, why not? So I said yes. Because I was so busy, I just wanted to get off the phone. But I didn't have a big reason for why I said yes, really. And when I walked into that event, a couple of weekends later, I was like, what is this? It was a huge auditorium. It was loud music and people dancing at like 8 a.m. I generally thought I had walked into something crazy, like a cult or something, but I stayed. I had enough courage and curiosity to stay. And over those 2 days, I heard and experienced something different. It wasn't hype, although it felt like it with the dancing, I can assure you. But I heard something. I felt something. I learned a little bit about structure. I'm like, structure, what is that? Personal responsibility, vision. Wow, that was new to me, and choice. And at the end of that weekend, they offered a 7-day program called Life Design. 7 days. It was money I absolutely did not have, and it was a lot. And my best friend said, it's okay, do it. If you feel that this is going to help you, do it, and I'll help you. And that week changed my life forever, everything about it. Up until then, I liked personal growth, self-help, and development. I actually collected a lot of quotes. I would have them on my phone. I watched Oprah I felt inspired sometimes, but I didn't have a plan. And life design was the first time someone asked me, what do you actually want your life to look like? A life that is just what you want, not what no one else tells you to want. Where you don't have to prove anything. And not a life where you think it might temporarily make you feel better. Like a life that actually fits you, right? That's just you. And then they broke it down. Health, relationships, career, business, environment, standards, habits. And they made it really, really practical. And trust me, it definitely hit. It definitely worked for me because I was in full immersion for 7 days straight, from very early in the morning till sometimes till midnight. So I was learning this in full immersion. And for the first time, I saw my life as something I was responsible for designing and not being reactive to, and not just getting through it, and not just like pushing through because I could. Designing, real design, life design. And that was the turning point for me. And that's why life design still sits foundationally under everything that I do, everything in my work. Even when I talk about confidence, even when I talk about nervous system regulation, even when I talk about capacity. If you don't consciously design your life, you'll just continue on this default setting, which will follow comfort, which will follow influence externally, which will follow whatever environment that you're in. And that was me. Life design was a blessing. It gave me ownership. It gave me structure. It gave me a way to build something that was really aligned to me and real, instead of just surviving the week. And it gave me life. It gave me this vision, and that moved me forward. So I want to ask you something. If you stripped away what you think you should be building, what would you actually design? What would your health look like? Your work, your pace, your friendships, your environment, and does your current life reflect that direction? Even just a little bit, slightly? You don't have to overhaul everything. Just notice, because you don't have to wait until your body forces a stop to redesign. You can pause earlier. You're allowed to do that. So this week, I just encourage you to sit with this. If I treated my life like something I was responsible for designing and not reacting to, what would need attention first? And we'll build from there. Just notice, and I'll see you in the next episode.